Yes, Twilight did the contacts better. Yes, they did. So we're all sexier now. Oh, let's just get there. What? I hate it. I hate it. Nah, this plot armor is just too thick, y'all. Hello, and welcome to Embodying Mystical Mac. I'm Mac, and if you're new here, thank you so much for joining. If you are returning, thank you so much for coming back. Today we have, yes, this day came. Yes, it did. I was gonna say unfortunately, but I'm like endlessly grateful for them messing up the Wheel of Time so bad that my channel popped off, so I can't like fully say unfortunately. But the day finally came, and we are finally talking about Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 1. Now, just to be fair, they did literally put out, I don't know, like 3 or 4 episodes. No, maybe 3. Might have been 3. 3 episodes all at once. But yeah, so we're gonna be a little bit delayed. I hope that's cool. It's gonna have to be. I do have, a full-time job, all that. However, I am here to give you my notes and my thoughts on the Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 1. I even went back and reviewed some book things that we're gonna talk about. And you know what? Let's just get right into it, because why not, okay? First of all, let's acknowledge the fact that I am wearing brown in addition to my yellow shawl today. And the reason for that being that I am trying to approach this with the studious nature that the browns bring to all the things that they do. I'm struggling with my shawl here. However, yes, I would like to bring the studious nature that the browns bring to all of the things that they study. So essentially, I'm gonna have my feelings for sure, but I also wanna have a detached, studious vibe about it. I might be contradicting myself here. We're gonna see if it's possible. Yeah, we're gonna see if it's possible. Because at this point, honestly, they have just worn me down. They've worn me down to the point where there are things that will make me big mad, but I'm big mad for 2 seconds because I remember the team that is spearheading this whole thing, and I go, yeah, okay, But anyways, yes, I'm also, I feel like there's also some Aiel vibe going on with the more sand-colored brown. Regardless though, like I said, my Aja of choice would be yellow, and I'm portraying what it would be like if they actually dressed normally instead of committing to just owning a full trousseau of only one color. That makes absolutely no sense to me, but we'll get into that a little bit. Next, I have a little bit of a disclaimer because I feel like I've seen this floating around, and I just don't really appreciate this criticism of the show, which I know. Listen, I'm about to criticize the show up and down, especially as a vehement lover of The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, and then continued by Brandon Sanderson, but still Robert Jordan. Still by Robert Jordan. I'm a lover of the books, meaning I'm gonna have a lot of criticism for the show. However, my criticisms only stand when I can honor what the show did correctly. And I've just seen it floating around that people like to say that this show has diversity casting, which we all know now is, attached to just casting diverse people for absolutely no reason because it needs to be woke, blah, 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 blah. Listen, I haven't read Tolkien per se, so I can't say if everybody in there is white. I haven't read Song of Ice and Fire, however, most of, those characters seem to be white. When it comes to Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, at least as was evident to me, my partner, and so many other people that I've spoken to that have read the books, it's very evident that the diversity is already built in. By virtue of, working in farms and their people having been there for so long, the Two Rivers folk tend to be more dark-skinned, or just dark-skinned in general. We also have, the very dark-skinned people, which are gonna be the Shan-Chan. The Malkir have notes of Asian. So there's, now, obviously, Robert Jordan was creating a fresh new world. However, bringing in just nuances of diversity from our own, in my opinion, makes it really a lot more realistic and a lot more, I guess, it gives you a bigger buy-in as a reader, in my opinion, because it feels so real even in that way. So I just don't love this criticism of diversity casting when it comes to this show, because they didn't diversity cast. In fact, in my opinion, casting is one of the very few things that they seem to have done right. And some things notwithstanding, which I did talk about in the video where I talked about them adding new actors for this season, those things that I talked about in that video notwithstanding, like they really are doing a fantastic job with the casting and keeping to the, at least in my opinion, ethnicities of the different people that we are meeting from the different regions. Anyways, okay, now that I've praised the show for one thing, let's get into it. Okay, so my initial thoughts, I'm thinking like fresh out of finishing the episode, which by the way was last night, I was like, okay, I feel like they're too focused on bringing like epic fights and these epic happenings over substance a lot of the time. Not gonna say all of the time, but a lot of the time. I also feel like we came away with some time wasted due to things that I consider to be mistakes that they did in past seasons. So like changing certain things and now they have to amend something and waste time, or it's just a gaping plot hole, which we'll get into the thing that I'm referring to here. Overall, for me personally. There were a couple of moments where I got excited and we'll talk about them. However, for the most part, those are my initial thoughts. Now, I'll give you final thoughts once we go through the episode via my notes. I wasn't even sure if I was going to go this deep, but you know what? We've done the notes, so I'm just going to continue with the notes. Okay. That means I have to flip to my notes. Okay. All right. Okay. First of all, the preview already had me groaning because I'm like just being reminded of the nonsense of past seasons. So yeah, that wasn't a great start. I don't love that we're starting with Moiraine. My very first Wheel of Time video, I talked about how I felt, in my opinion, that Rosamund Pike's involvement seemed to be skewing the show in a way that I just didn't love. One of those ways being that Moiraine just gets inserted places when she's supposed to be clear across the map. If we're going even by a vague guideline of what the Wheel of Time is, which supposedly is the source material they are aiming to adapt. Right. So my memory of the series, because again, I've only read it through fully once, is not the absolute best. But do you know whose memory of the series is rather fantastic? Because not only has he read it himself completely once, but we talked about it incessantly when I was reading it, and he remembered a lot of things. My boyfriend. And he reminded me that Moiraine, at this point in time, because I think we're kind of in the realm of the Dragon Reborn right now, like maybe at the beginning of it, you know, she supposedly is in Falme, which is not Tar Valon or Tar Valon. Okay? I feel like it's Tar Valon. I feel like the show is trying to convince us that it's Tar Valon. Anyways, yeah, that's not Tar Valon, it's Falme. So there's that. It's also the fact that, okay, fine, because they changed the things they did and Moiraine actually is in Tar Valon, that's fine. But why do we have to start the show with her? She is not supposed to be the main character. However, she is the center at, in the character pyramid. on the visual, in one of the visuals that Amazon uses to advertise the show. Rand is carrying her out of Viridian for some reason, or not necessarily, I don't know if it's out of Viridian per se, but like in the waist, again, in another promotional photo. Like, I swear, the only thing that's left to do is for this woman to allegedly, you know, push to insert herself into being like one of Rand's love interests. Like, so yeah, I already not loving it because we're starting off with Moiraine when we really should just be freaking starting off with Rand. My opinion. Also, by the way, because my memory of the books isn't entirely fantastic, considering, you know, the bulk of story that is, I did look up something specifically just to make sure that I had that locked in before I watched what they tried to do. Okay? So, like, not that I'm like, oh my god, I committed, give me praise. No. I'm just saying, like, this is how deep I am trying to go into, like, the Studious Brown vibes. I'm like, no, if there's something important, like, for example, I looked up Egwene's arches, because we'll get into that. I was disappointed. Obviously not by the book, by the show, duh, but we'll get into that. Okay, yeah, starting off with Moiraine, not strong at all. Don't love it. We don't even see Rand for, like, a solid bit. And I absolutely hate it. Also, what is she doing around the tower? Like, it's like this woman is clad in so much plot armor that she's not even interesting to me anymore. Okay. We'll also get into it, but this is not RJ's Moiraine, meaning this is not my Moiraine. So, all right. I literally say this first thing. I really despise how they did away with the shawls. Like, honestly, the shawls are the thing, in my opinion, that Robert Jordan used as, like, you know, how the Keeper has the stole to identify her no matter what color she wears or what outfit she wears. Oh, not the Keeper, I'm sorry. The Keeper has a stole too, but, like, the Amerlin has a stole. The Keeper has a stole, right? The shawls are kind of like, the way that I see it, the identifying stoles for the Ajas. By having the shawls, you allow the Aes Sedai to dress in various colors, and they're not, like I said, just locked into a monochrome. Not monochrome as in, like, void of color. Maybe this is not the right word, but I feel like this might be the right word. Like, regardless, the same color, maybe in varying shades, like a full wardrobe of just that. To me, that is just not as believable. It's also, like, I know that Aes Sedai aren't always necessarily trying to hide, but the White Cloaks have proved to, like, be a real enemy and a real threat here in this version of the story, whereas I feel like in the books, they're kind of more of a joke. But not that they don't create damage. I'm just saying, like, the Aes Sedai, in my opinion, are strong enough to deal with them. Whereas in the show, obviously, like, Valda's collected all the rings and whatnot. So, actual threat, right? So it doesn't really make any sense to me that they would only ever wear clothes that are the color of their Aja, but that is what the show is trying to go with, which is really annoying, which means that doing away with the shawls, like, essentially just... I just think it's a silly choice that ended up, like, costing us a lot of really cool wardrobe choices that we're never gonna get because all of these Aes Sedai need to all the time be dressed in their Aja of choice. Liandrin and Swan, yeah, their showdown felt very goofy. That whole, like, tower raid, I'm not gonna say it's a coup because it didn't become the Black Tower, so there is that. But, you know, so I guess the raid, the quote epic raid, but even before that, the whole showdown, sorry, I was a little sick, so if there's that, if that comes up, apologies. The showdown was just dumb. To me, it was just really dumb. It just felt very hollow. I didn't feel grounded into the season in the least bit for us to, like, have that and have all that carnage happen. Like, I can't emphasize how much I didn't care. And this isn't because I don't want to care, because there are other things that happened in this episode that I did care about. And that just wasn't one of them. Like, I know that in the books there is a big siege. There is, a big thing that happens where, do I say spoiler alert? I don't know. If y'all haven't read the books and you're here, I don't know what you're doing, but there is a siege. The tower becomes the Black Tower, and the not Black Aja Aes Sedai have to escape. Anyways, that's not what happens here. Doesn't feel super earned, feels really hollow to me. Also, why is it just Nynaeve who's called to testify against Leandrin when she literally sold all three of them? In fact, Egwene should be the one up there because she's the one who actually got completely effed and became a Damani. So, don't know. Let's see. So, something that I felt was that it's not, again, because in the book we do have a siege, we do have a bloody battle between the Aes Sedai and whatnot. However, by having it this early in the game and in a way that feels very unearned, in my opinion, we kind of undermine and lose the brilliance of the tower politics. One of the most interesting things to me in fantasy in general, but definitely in Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, is the Dies Damar of it all, is the White Tower politics, right? Is the Aiel, ways and toe and those kinds of things, their ways of thinking and their ways of functioning in these kind of complex social ways. And I just feel by having this just be a showdown of channeling right off the bat, I get that we jumpstart the search for the Black Aja and the Terangrial and the Angreal and whatever. I get that we jumpstart some things, but to me, again, it still needs to feel earned, and this just didn't. And it also felt like we could have gotten at least one episode in the very least of tower politics that were interestingly and intelligently foreshadowing this to the point, and not even just foreshadowing, but setting this up. We didn't need all that much. Coming out like this right off the bat to me just was not the way. Again, why is Moiraine there? Woman! Okay. See, is it working? I'm still big mad. I don't know. Okay. Initially, I thought that it was going to become the Black Tower, and I literally was like, wow, this feels like the dumbest, most unearned way to achieve the Black Tower, but that's not what ended up happening, so who knows if they'll go with that at some point. I imagine so. More elaborating on the battle between the Aes Sedai, the cool effects are lost to me, and on me just in general, because all of it felt so void of substance, truly. The fact that the warders are just knocking, nah. They would be doing something so much more proactive than that. I don't know what it would be, but they would be doing something more proactive than just knocking and hollering. I despise what they've done with the warders. I just cannot. I cannot. Again, this happened way too soon. And then I go, wait, they don't take the tower? They just run? Which, okay, fair. I think that happened as well, right? Because then the Reds go and try to trap Rand, the preview of the show said, and whatever. But, again, I don't know. Maybe this is just, my memory of the books being faulty. Maybe it's the fact that I was this felt like way too much carnage right off the bat that felt unearned for them to not take the tower. Let's move on. Yeah. The two warders, Alana's two warders, are literally getting more love than the freaking Dragon Reborn at this point. Looking at my imaginary watch, where is Rand? Where is the main character of this story? Sure, we can argue he's one of the main characters, but he is the most prominent one. He is the Dragon Reborn, especially in this area of the story. The warders are getting more recognition and notice. Just absolutely ridiculous. I also said I genuinely don't care about, is it Yvonne? Is that his name? One of Alana's warders, the one that dies. Like, I literally don't care about him dying because we literally took time away from things that actually could have mattered. And then because I'm already feeling like this epic battle is very unearned and has absolutely, like, if no setup at all, very flimsy setup at best from things that we're supposed to, like, just recall last season, you know, because the Black Aja really, like, had all this time to organize, and maybe that's what they're trying to say. But again, give us one episode, just one episode where you inform us that that has been set up, you know, in an intelligent, political, White Tower politic manner kind of way. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Goddesses. Yeah, I just genuinely don't care because this whole thing felt unearned. You're trying to get me to, like, feel these manufactured feelings toward Alana's warders, and yeah, okay. Let's move on. I chuckled when the rocks didn't fall on Swan because I just knew it was Moiraine. I just knew it. Like, of course it was. Of course it was Moiraine. Why wouldn't it be Moiraine? Because Rosamund allegedly has to insert herself absolutely everywhere where she's not needed. And mind you, she takes precious time away from things that we could actually be talking about. Okay, let's move on. Yep, it is Moiraine. I actually giggled. Also, like, given lovers quarrel, there we go, vibes, which, you know, we know they are. We know that they've ran with that storyline, which fine, whatever. Again, resigned at this point. The little snippet, like the very first time that we hear Matt throw out the old tongue, was done well. I did like that. Okay, let's get to the gaping plot hole. Due to dumb-ass choices that they made that they didn't need to make because the manufactured drama that it created in the moment. And I say it was manufactured drama because if it had been actually real drama, Loyal wouldn't be alive, okay? But gaping plot hole. Loyal is alive. May I remind you, he was stabbed with a blade from Shadar Logoth, right? The city so cursed because the people wanted to scare the Dark Friends and Trollocs so much that they literally became evil themselves and consumed the city with that evil. Shadar Logoth, the place that not even Myrddrals want to go near. The place where Trollocs feel uneasy. That blade came from that haunted house times 10 million. Haunted city times 10 million. That is where the blade came from. Now, in the books, if you get stabbed with a blade like that, you are done. You are absolutely done. I don't even, maybe if an Aes Sedai is close enough and is like a fantastic healer, maybe you're good. I don't think so. The fact that Loyal, like, in literally, like, some of you might be like, oh my god, like, why can't you let this go? Because it is a gaping plot hole. It's not only a gaping plot hole, it's a gaping plot hole that did not need to exist. And this highlights my frustrations with this team in a nutshell. The only reason Loyal got stabbed with the blade from Shadar Logoth is because we needed to establish Padan Fain as very, very, very threatening. Which he already, in my opinion, was. In fact, he could have stabbed Loyal with any other blade. Any other blade. And the same effect would have occurred. Especially given that there were no real consequences to the fact that Loyal got stabbed with a cursed blade made of darkness, basically at this point. Because the curse was embedded into the blade, as it is into literally every fiber of that city, which is why even Shadow Spawn don't want to go anywhere near it. So like the fact that Loyal is still alive is a gaping plot hole that I hate that they never addressed. Like, we didn't even get a dumb throwaway line about how like, oh, thank God Moiraine was there, because you know Moiraine is just absolutely capable of absolutely everything, and she never tires, even though her tiring was like totally a thing when they were traveling out of the two rivers. But whatever, we're gonna get there too, don't worry. So yes, Loyal is here, he is alive. I'm not gonna say unfortunately, because I do love Loyal, but unfortunately for the fact that it creates a gaping effing plot hole. He still looks goofy as all hell, still sounds goofy as all hell. No shade to the actor. As far as the acting goes, he's doing the best he can with what he's being given. In my opinion, though, they could have tried to make the look better. They could have tried to make the voice better. In my opinion, it's not better. Moving on. Okay, I really I really don't like that in aging up Min and creating that whole kerfuffle with her being, you know, like a thing with Matt for a second, we've just effectively cut her out. Which makes me really annoyed, because Min is truly one of the best characters. She has one of the most interesting abilities. And not only that, she is such an integral part to Rand's journey. And I'm sure that what Min does for Rand in the book is probably just going to get transferred over to either Elaine or Egwene, or potentially, spoiler, skip ahead to the timestamp after I say the spoiler is done, because I don't think James knows this. Anyways, spoiler, or Avienda. Yeah. Okay, spoilers are over. Regardless though, transferring over what Min does for him to another person just isn't the same. And I know that this is a personal thing, but really, in aging her up like that, we just kind of totally just removed her from the girl group as well, because she is part of the girl group with Elaine, Egwene, and Nynaeve, and eventually Avienda. I mean, yeah, which is, you know, well, not eventually. Avienda is through Elaine, I guess, here, part of it. But yeah, I just don't like that. Min is literally one of the most interesting characters, and I just really hate that they did her dirty and that they just don't appreciate what Robert Jordan wrote for her. Okay, literally, I praise Matt, right, I praise them for, doing the old tongue thing really well, and then they have to go and, ruin my opinion again, because why, what is Matt doing just throwing out words like the dragon reborn and, bragging about how he's the one who blew the horn, and basically major identifiers right after Moiraine literally gave them the spiel of be discreet, don't be an idiot, and then the next thing we have to show Matt just being an idiot. Matt is boisterous, Matt likes mischief, but he's not an idiot. This show really just didn't get the assignment when it came to Matt, in my opinion. And then the fact that Perrin and Rand are just not reprimanding him at all makes them look really dumb, which makes me really mad as well. Really, really, really annoying. It's also not believable because literally they were just given that talk by Moiraine. The contradiction is right there. Right there. What happened? I don't know. And then, yes, also don't make Matt or the boys look so dumb, especially directly after, agreeing to discretion in that scene prior. Literally, what are we doing? Next, I hate that we were wasting time on relationship talk. Honestly, these people are not, you made the choice Rafe Judkins and the rest of your team, y'all made the choice to age these people up. Not only that, they have been through stuff now. The fact that these scenes where they talk about their relationships aren't coming from a more mature angle, if they're gonna exist at all and waste our time anyway, can they at least come from a more mature angle? You are the ones who aged these people up. You are the ones who decided that they weren't gonna be, hormonal teenagers. So why does it feel like all of the scenes where we talk about relationship, it's just like stupid gossip and we could honestly do without it? Like, I would vibe a little bit at least if, like I said, it came from a more mature angle and it actually felt like it was doing something. Silly. Just silly. Yeah, I really hate this like rushing to the last battle thing. I literally wrote here like, really rushing to the last battle, are we? Like, literally? They mentioned it all season last season. They're gonna continue to mention it all season this season. Like, it's just, we are not there yet. And I know supposedly they want to cram like 3 books in this season, which good luck, friend. Can't wait, I guess, to see what you butcher on your way there. I don't know, but my God, I hate it. Like, can we just focus on making the current battles interesting? That would be cool. Leave the last battle be. You are not ready or worthy of that chapter in memory of, like, yet, maybe ever. If this adaptation has anything to say for it. Okay. Really silly Lanfear / Moiraine showdown. I will give it to the scene. It was slightly interesting, but I don't like the idea of Moiraine and Lanfear working together, and I especially don't like it when we find out how that culminated later. Okay. Parents' contacts look goofy. Yes, they still do. Again, how did Twilight do it better? Great questions. Oh, by the way, I'm dressed. I forgot to tell you, I'm dressed, but I also have a little dragon back here. That's what this is. This is her head. That's Khaleesi. Yes, I know. I'm basic for naming her that, but it is what it is. Okay, yes, Twilight did the contacts better. Yes, they did. Next, I just wrote, so we're all sexier now. We're all just sexier now. Let's just CW it up, shall we? Literally, everyone is just sexier now. This is hilarious. Moving on. So Matt speaking the old tongue due to the horn, I guess would be an interesting and strong choice and not so much of a first ideas concept. It might still be. However, it kind of, which I later did learn that this is the case. However, when I initially wrote this note, it didn't seem to be guaranteeing that we are getting his presence at Rudion. And in that, it kind of feels like we also cut out the, in my opinion, really interesting snakes and foxes people. The Eilfin and Eelfin, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, I feel like in doing that, in making his ability to speak the old tongue tied to the horn, we just have forsaken, no pun intended, all that. Which in my opinion, that story, how he gets his scar, like all of that, Rand's involvement, it's just such a good... it's just so good. It's so good. I am not in the least bit convinced that they can come up with a better storyline for Matt than where he was supposed to be headed if Robert Jordan's work had anything to say. So I just really don't like that. I don't like the choice that he's speaking the old tongue due to the horn. I also don't like how they're placing and positioning the horn as the MacGuffin that it is for him, and I'll talk about that in a note later. So Moiraine and Lanfear scene, this is a callback. That scene at least was interesting. I was trying to honor that. At least it was an interesting scene, but I just don't like that they're working together. And again, especially not how that culminates. So I did like the maidens grilling Rand. It kind of made me go like, oh, production team. So you have read these books. Okay, because I wasn't sure. I started wondering, like, back in season 1. But that scene actually felt authentic to the story. I do love, like, the reading down, like, she literally, Aviendha just reads Rand, and I appreciate that. She's like, you're a wetlander through and through, which he is. I mean, girl, he is, unfortunately. Like, he does look like y'all. His mom did come from y'all. However, he was raised to be a wetlander. So I did like that scene. Let's see. We don't even get to see oh my gosh. Okay, this thing. So I don't love that. Again, can we just please have one episode in this season to establish anything instead of just having people tell us that things happened off screen and we have to just accept it now? I know that the reason they don't feel like they have time to do this is because they're probably really trying to cram 3 of these 700-page minimum books into one season. Wouldn't surprise me if that is the goal, as ridiculous as it is. So I feel like they probably feel like they don't have the time to do this. Like, this is not important. But guess what? This is fantasy. And in fantasy, part of the intrigue, part of the believability of it all is when we actually get taken into that world and we see things get put in place. The fact that we got told that Aviendha and Elaine are close through this goofy ass scene where Egwene, Aviendha, and Nynaeve are all, not Aviendha, where Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve are talking as they're drinking because that's all they do now. That's how we find out that Elaine and Aviendha have become close. Such a cop-out. I don't like it, but literally I was like, oh right, rush we must. Can't establish anything. Can't establish the Dark Tower politics in the tower, the Black Tower politics in the tower before we have the siege. Can't establish that Aviendha and Elaine have gotten close in a scene where we actually see it happen instead of just being told. Like, really, 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 really silly. Also, why all the spicy jokes? Like, and I know because I'm gonna have a note later where someone makes a spicy joke, but it's less of a spicy joke and more of like a DICK joke. I don't know if I can say that word here. I don't know, honestly. I just don't want to, why get demonetized for something so stupid? But yeah, but that felt authentic and that felt like it was properly placed. I feel like there are just some spicy jokes like getting inserted for the sake of having like this vibe about it. Feels very Game of Thrones wannabe, in my opinion. Like, and at this point, like, it's the beginning of the episode. It's literally the beginning of a new season. I just feel like we have better things to do. Okay. So, writing Suan by saying that she regrets her choices in part is a blatant example of them needing to literally waste precious time on fixing stuff that they shouldn't have, like, played with in the first place. Why did we have that whole thing with Swan happen last season? Well, in my, like, where she tried to trap Rand, right? Well, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, it's because we needed the tension between her and her lover Moiraine to really ramp up in a way that, like, was very painful, right? Like, for Moiraine and everything. So that's why we did that, and in my opinion, from what I see. And now we have to fix it because she is still the Amerlin, and we do still have to respect her as such because the girls do, or at least a couple of them do, have to go back to the tower. And yeah, again, so blatant example of how your needless changing for momentary shock factor and drama actually just ends up having you waste time in a season that you're already claiming you're gonna rush the crap out of. Congratulations. So finally something to cheer about. Egwene is gonna go through the arches. Now, yeah, that note aged like milk because we'll get there. We'll just get there. I literally say, I hope they got the assignment this time. I don't think they did, but we'll see. We'll talk about it. Liana's character feels very one note at this point. I don't know if it's the direction that actress is getting. I honestly don't know if I've seen her in much, so I can't say, but it's just hitting very one note. Like, Liana just feels like a robot to me at this point. Not because she's acting like a robot, but because, like, she is just so predictable in the way that she's gonna behave, I feel, in her mannerisms and everything, and it doesn't feel like an easy embodying of the character. It just feels very forced in one note. Let's see. I mean, the effects on the weaving, like, it's always gonna be fantastic. I think that is one of the things. Like, again, for the most part, the looks of it all, they did a great job, right? So I do appreciate the effects of the weaving of the One Power. Okay, so I know it's been a while since Nynaeve has gone through her accepted trials, but it really bothers me that Lan is the one who pushes her to tell him about it. He doesn't necessarily pressure her to tell him, but he inquires, which in my opinion is just really dumb and contradicts lore, because as a warder, Lan should be one of the people who knows that they should not discuss that, and that he shouldn't even pry into it, or, and give her the option to do that, because to do that would be going against the tower that she says she's supposedly devoted to. Like, not just that, it's like, if you are going to learn at the tower, then at least while you're at the tower to learn, follow the tower's rules. And at this point, she had decided to go back to the tower, which is why they're having this conversation. Like, this is not my land. This is not Robert Jordan's land. None of these warders are the warders that I read about in the Wheel of Time. I can't stand it. It's in all why? Why? Because we needed to have this conversation between Lan and Nynaeve. Literally have a conversation about if she's nervous about going back to the tower, about if she's nervous that she can't, channel at will, those kinds of things. There are so many other things. Like, have a conversation about the fact that she's scared that Rand is gonna go mad because he has to learn to channel. There are so many other things that you can talk about that can create a tender/tense scene between Nynaeve and Lan that don't have to contradict lore, because a true warder would never even ask. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. So I'm getting Sister Wives vibes from Avi and Elaine already. Elaine's learning hand talk, it looks like, which is cool. And then we also get a mention of Usquai, which is an Aiel liquor that they enjoy a lot. Let's see. So yeah, okay. Spoiler, I guess. Skip ahead until I say it's no longer spoiled. Okay. Sister Wives. So this thing, I don't know if it got explained at all last season, but this thing that the Aiel do, where it's essentially a version of, I don't think, it's more like polyamory in the sense of the vibe of it all, but usually, I'm trying to think if the women marry more than one man. I don't think so. However, the way that it's written in the book, it's very interesting. And like I said, reads more like polyamory, where everyone communicates, is fully, wonderful in where they stand, those kinds of things. Maybe, listen, I have to reread, but I'm sure there are flaws in there. However, for the most part, it read more like polyamory in vibes, even though it might be polygamy. But when we say polygamy, I feel like, people think about the really unfortunate things that have happened in our world that are surrounded with that word. Again, this is one of the things that, to understand Sister Wives, you just probably have to read the book. But regardless, the spoiler is the fact that Elaine and and I'm saying this for people who don't know, haven't read the books and apparently are listening to this, Elaine and Rand are going to be a thing. Rand and Aviendha are also going to be a thing. Rand and Min were also supposed to be a thing. Okay? Yeah. And because of their connection, like through just, they like each other, but also the Elaine embracing the ways of the Aiel, Aviendha and Elaine become sister wives, which is this thing that is very sacred and kind of like bonds them. It's very interesting. Anyways, okay, spoiler over. Those are just the vibes that I was getting from Elaine and Avi. So I enjoyed the Dies Damar lessons from Elaine. That was fun. I love that the daughter heir is coming out and talking to Rand about politics and sending out things to her contacts. Like, I do like that. The political intrigue is like one of my favorite parts of the Wheel of Time, which is why I kind of hate that it's kind of not happening in the Tower. Okay? So, we're getting to the arches. So, I was very disappointed to find that we really just got one arch for Egwene. I know she went through all three, but we just got to see one. And this is the part, like, I did look up what actually happened in the book in order to be properly prepared, to watch this. And ultimately, in the book, and I don't know why they couldn't have just... This is the thing. They could have just stuck to at least one of the scenarios. But whatever. In the book, the first arch she goes through, it's essentially similar to Nynaeve and Lan's like happy ending type vibes, right? Like they're on the farm in the Two Rivers. They have a daughter named Joya. But like Rand is like plagued with, headaches and things, obviously due to being a channeler, and she ends up leaving, unable to help him as he's like breaking down because of a headache, and of course the way back will come but once, so she goes. And then the second arch, it's essentially she's in a castle, it seems to be in Caemlyn, the castle in Caemlyn, and she, gets out of some rubble, ends up finding Rand under like a giant pillar essentially, and he asks for her help to get out of this, but not to literally get out of it. He like asks for her to kill him because he knows that he can channel his way out of this, but if he channels, he might lose control, and it's not worth him losing control, because if he loses control, then he's afraid that they'll turn him to the dark, which, by the way, in the book, Egwene just learns before she goes in to do the arches. She feels very unprepared, and she just learns that it takes 13 Black Aja members and 13 Myrddraal to be able to turn a wielder to the shadow. Honestly, don't know if this is a spoiler, because don't know what lore they're gonna keep and what lore they're just gonna throw away. So yeah, so basically she ends up with that choice, but she never ends up having to she makes the choice to go through the arch, but she ends up leaving Rand under the pillar or whatever that's crushing him. And the third one is actually really interesting, and I actually think that the third one is the one that they were trying to go for, but in condensing it down and changing it completely, I think they really, really, really missed the mark. Like, I feel like if they had given us the complete third arch for Egwene, it would have been forgiven that the other two wasn't present, because the other two were just lead-ups to that third one. The fact that we get to see them in the books just serve to like validate Egwene's sort of like descent towards the Tower, that her experience of having to lose Rand over and over and over again through the arches really does do a number on her. Now, it doesn't make her do what she does in the show, which is just like not be a person of her word, but whatever, we'll get there. Regardless, though, the third arch that she goes through, she actually is in the Amerlin study, with her keeper, which we did have this foreshadow in the show where she is the Amerlin. I mean, I think their clothes look goofy as hell. I literally said this. I don't like their outfits. They're literally so goofy. They look costumey to me. They don't look like some of the polished Aes Sedai outfits that I've seen the show sport. This is one of the cases where the looks just did not work in my opinion. I also like the stole, the Amerlin stole is not identifiable at all. I don't even remember what it looks like on Swan, because honestly, whenever Swan is wearing it, I just feel like her clothes are swallowing it up, or maybe they just changed it, so I don't even know what their version of it looks like, but like literally, where is her stole? And then I literally said, like, why did we have to change it? And for a second I was like, oh, maybe because they're gonna have Elaine and Rand be a thing, but then they don't, but then they literally don't. Like, Egwene is still with Rand at this point, so really dumb. Okay, let me explain the third arch to you. Okay, so she's in the Amerlin study and she's got her keeper, and they're on their way to essentially meet the sitters and sisters in like the chamber where everybody meets up, and essentially Egwene gets attacked, and it's essentially a Black Aja coup by Elida, and they tie her down in order to turn her over to the Shadow. And not only that though, Rand is like on trial, he's about to be stilled. Egwene like spends a whole hell of a lot of time in that one particular scenario. I don't know if it seems like she was in there for quite a long time, because when essentially like she tries to save Rand, but right when she's about to save Rand, she sees the arches and she ends up going through the arch anyway, obviously. But when she comes out, it seems like there are a lot of Aes Sedai there who were essentially like linking in order to help. At this point, I think it's Shiriam. Maybe it's Shiriam for sure. Maybe Lyanna is there too, or maybe it's Shiriam and Swan. I don't remember who. Shiriam for sure, but there was somebody else there too. And they're just like holding the line essentially to hold on longer, because Elaine's friends are, I don't know if, again, my memory, I don't know if it was Elaine, if it was Nynaeve or Elaine, but basically someone's like urging them to hold on to it longer. So that leads me to think that maybe Egwene spent a little bit more time there. But I feel like they already effed this storyline with Nynaeve, because I feel like they did that for her, right? But, anyway, she comes out of it. Looks like there's a lot going on. People are kind of cagey about it, but basically she gets told that like they thought that she was almost gonna die, and because I believe Alana also pushes her a little bit into doing the accepted trial before she feels ready, and this ends up happening. Alana even like decides that she's gonna take the punishment that is gonna be given to Egwene for whatever reason. At this point, I don't remember what, but essentially Alana was like, I feel responsible for you nearly almost dying in there. Anyway, so instead of that, we get that stupid dumbass scene in the show with those goofy ass outfits and those goofy ass lines, and that was dumb. And I literally said that was okay, I guess. I don't know. Not okay as in it was good, just like okay as in like, what do I do with this information? Okay, bye. Yeah, and then I was prepared to write about Arch 2, and wow, we don't even get the other arches. We just we just get the ugly ass ring without a stone in it, because it's ugly without the stone, it's ugly with the stone. But anyway, we'll get into the ring later, because I do talk about it. So what I say here, they're really squashing the Rand/Moiraine mentorship, huh? Like, do you think she would have learned from last season that she can't just tell him what to do outright? But again, it kind of seems like they have a scene quota, allegedly, for Miss Pike, and she just needs to, like, be inserted, as often as humanly possible without her character actually needing to be in those places. But that just felt like a repeat of last season. Like, that just felt dumb. Like, I'm just like, you literally learned last season that you can't just strong arm him. that was like part of your growth, supposedly. But no, forget that. That didn't happen, apparently. Again, literally said, ugly ass ring. Ugly ass ring. So this Egwene just said a few scenes ago, this Egwene just said a few, like, right, supposedly the same person that I watched a few scenes ago say that they need to train under the tower because they are not strong enough. She was agreeing with Nynaeve. Did they just forget that they made Egwene say all those things? Like, was she lying? Because it came across very genuine to me. I don't think she was lying. But now suddenly, she just isn't a person of her word and is walking out on the tower. Also, it's like, you do know that you're not an Aes Sedai, right? Like, and by virtue of them using these ugly ass ring designs instead of just keeping with Robert Jordan's original ring design, which is this one right here, just an Ouroboros, just a serpent eating its tail. Without, I mean, mine has little stones in it because, again, I had limited options and that's what ended up happening. But yeah, no, it's just a golden ring with the snake eating its own tail. And the fact that they made it this ugly ass thing that they did and put these ugly ass fake looking stones in them just literally now makes it absolutely possible for anyone in the world to distinguish between an accepted and an Aes Sedai. Which sucks because the girls having the ring but not being sworn to sisterhood yet was a really interesting thing that was used in the books to aid the plot, and now you can't really do that without creating a big gaping plot hole. But I guess you're cool with that because, you know, Loyal's still here. We don't even get a backwards explanation for that, but cool. This isn't Lan. Yeah, moving on. Okay, so listen, we do not need Elaine. We don't really need any of these spicy scenes, in my opinion, because we are wasting excuse me. We are wasting so much time as it is that, like, having these spicy scenes to me just genuinely feels gratuitous. And I'm not someone who's opposed to spice. I'm not someone who's opposed to, like, the sexy time scenes. But the fact that it's happening and I'm groaning because it feels like we're not actually covering any ground half the time anyway, and then we throw in this crap for absolutely, it feels like no reason. So I wrote here, we don't need Elaine in an Avienda spice scene right now. Like, this... Like, I literally said this team has no priorities, it feels like, unless we're setting up for Sister Wives. Which maybe. Don't know. Let's see. I genuinely can't even enjoy it, which I would love to enjoy it because I think those girls have good chemistry, like the actresses. I think they played it well. But I can't even really enjoy it because I genuinely am, like, cringing to my bones that we are wasting time that we don't have. Oh my goodness. Okay, Rand literally saying Egwene Sedai made me, like, double over in laughter. Because this is the writers not realizing their gaping holes that they have created with their tweakments, whether in the source material or in the story that they're adapting from the source material, or even in, like, wardrobe and things. By choosing to not make the Aes Sedai ring uniform and inserting those stupid stones, you literally made it impossible for Rand to call her Egwene Sedai in that moment, and it just blatantly not be true. Not just because it's not true, in the sense that no, she has not been raised to sister, she has just been raised to accepted, but to the fact that it is visibly not true. We can't even pretend that it's true because they did away with the original simplistic designs of the rings. So that was just dumb. I really think someone should have caught that and just cut that out, because that's like, you know, someone being gifted or, like, winning an Aiel dagger and then showing their friends and then being like, oh my god, now you're a maiden of the spear. It's like, what? What? Anyway, okay, what is with these girls divulging info about the arches? Like, I get that Egwene and Nynaeve are bitter towards the tower. I understand that. I read the books. I understand that. But it's not about how they feel about the tower. It's about whether they are people of their word or not. It's about whether they see themselves as worthy of being raised to Aes Sedai or not. And literally, one of the bare minimum things that can help you feel worthy is following the simple rules that are laid before you, such as you do not speak of your trials. They are your burdens to bear, and you do not speak of them. Like, typically, like, in our world, I think that wouldn't be a fair thing to ask. But guess what? This isn't our world. This is Robert Jordan's world. We're in the White Tower. If you want to be raised to accepted, and then sister, there are certain expectations. This is one of them. It would be one thing if they spoke around it. It would be one thing if they spoke with, again, that Aes Sedai, way where they answer the question, but they don't divulge much. Now, I get it. They haven't, sworn on the rod or anything, so it's not like they're compelled to speak that way. But again, this is all the little details that I feel that we're just losing, that I love so much. Like, I just don't like it. I literally wrote, like, what is up with these BITCHs? Just neutral term in this case. Like, just divulging their arch experience. Like, I hate it. It's silly. And to me, it puts a crack in their character, which I don't like. Really don't like. At least the PTSD moment was real. I appreciated that. Okay, here we go. Moiraine, because she's gotta fill her quota, allegedly, it seems. Also spotted a first gray man, which, okay, cool. Maiden's Kiss was interesting. I do love that we got to, see it, and especially see it through Matt, who is a little bit more reckless, and that was interesting. Anyways, too bad Gaul wasn't there to warn them away from Maiden's Kiss. Too bad Gaul wasn't there to warn them away. Did we ever even meet Gaul? I don't remember. I don't think so. They probably just cut him all together, or maybe we'll see him in the waist. I don't know. Okay, so we have literally just replaced the dagger with the horn, it feels like. Like, the obsession that Matt had with the dagger, which was, fueled by, like, a curse, was understandable, that obsession. Now we're just obsessed with the horn because it's magical and made him regain a bunch of memories. But we don't know how it really did that. I mean, it's turning what I find to be a very hard magic system into a very soft magic system. And I don't super love that. And you already know my opinion about the fact that it messes with him being at Rudion and just messes with that entire storyline happening, messes with the whole storyline that Moiraine is involved happening with the Tower of Genji, all that. I hate it. And then, yeah, I don't love it that we just, like, have replaced the attachment for the dagger, which actually makes sense, with this attachment to the horn, which doesn't make as much sense, in my opinion. Okay, so, god damn it, yeah, he's not gonna be at, yeah, that's what I literally said next. I'm like, god damn it, he's not gonna be at Rudion or the Tower of Genji, so... Spoiler, in the books, Moiraine, like, basically dies. And there has to be a whole rescue mission. That's not gonna happen, most likely. Because not on the men's watch, allegedly. No, I think instead of all that, we're just, that goofy ass still is Rand carrying Moiraine through the waist. Okay. So they're running with Matt. Yeah, they're running in the wrong way, in my opinion, with Matt. And I don't like it. They're running with Matt, and I don't love the directions. No. Okay, so I started to wonder. I was like, this carnage that is going on, that apparently Moiraine and Lan don't plan on stopping, which that should have just alerted me right there that it was, the thing that they were in on with Lanfear. But I was naive enough. To go, no. No, the writers didn't actually team up Lanfear and Moiraine so that they could hurt the group. No, because, Moiraine wouldn't do that, right? Moiraine wouldn't trust Lanfear for that kind of thing, right? I was not willing to see it. So, yeah, I was wondering if it was, Forsaken, if it was a gray man, what the heck is going on? I will say, Rand channeling, in that burst, hot. Yosha's hot. I'll give it to him. Okay, moving on. Okay. For a second, I started wondering, if the Carnage, the Grey Men, I'm like, is this the Islefin and Eolfin? Are they just making, are we gonna get foxes and snakes? No, obviously not. No. I was just very confused for a second. I was like, why is Moiraine letting it happen? Why? What is going on here? Because again, I was so naive that these writers can't make worse choices than they're already making, and then they go and do. Just for real. Okay. Egwene is bleeding out from a mortal, chest wound, right? Perrin just got a major chest wound by a literal axe, okay? Nynaeve also got major wounds, and Moiraine just was able to save all of them while they were all wounded fatally at the same time. She's just a miracle worker, this Moiraine. Oh my god, she never gets tired. Wonder what the Moiraine of season 1 would have thought. May I remind you, Moiraine is a fully formed Aes Sedai. Her power has peaked in a sense. She's not going to get any stronger than she already is. Okay? So, it's not like the girls that are still growing exponentially. They have not reached their peak yet. Moiraine has. This makes no sense, especially if in the first season, just removing their exhaustion for each of them at the end of the day, left her severely exhausted. She's not even a yellow, meaning healing is not her specialty, but supposedly she healed all these mortal wounds in the span of 10 minutes to make sure nobody died. Nah, this plot armor's just too thick, y'all. No. Don't have these characters get mortally wounded then. Don't do that. If it's going to be so unbelievable that they're all going to be healed in time and you're not going to explain it at all. But supposedly at one point this was a hard magic system and we did have hard rules. Okay, so I thought maybe it was the Forsaken, but they don't work together. That they typically don't work together. As far as I know, it feels like they're keeping that vibe. But then obviously it became clear that it was Lanfear. That was the plan that they were talking about. And this got me big mad, y'all. This got me big mad. Literally I wrote this. Moiraine, this Moiraine agreed, meaning not RJ's Moiraine, hell no. This knockoff Moiraine agreed to use Lanfear's help in scaring the group. Literally? I don't... RJ's / my Moiraine would have never trusted Lanfear for anything anyway. But definitely not to pull a stunt on the group that she is trying to guide and mentor. Because she's not an idiot. And she recognizes that a little scared to the Forsaken might be way overboard, which it obviously was. Nah. This is not Robert Jordan's Moiraine, and she is not my Moiraine. This is some knockoff dummy version that they can just toggle wherever the place to make her whatever they need to make her. Don't like it. Okay, I was validated though. The gray man was there, because why not? Might as well introduce that now. So, don't love that they changed the lore slightly about how gray men or women are made. Like, initially they're like, you know, they're created by the Forsaken. And I mean, in truth, the gray man or woman literally is like a dark friend for a long time, and they essentially give pieces of their soul away until eventually they just agree to give their soul over to the dark one, and then they become unnoticeable. Now, if this happens through Forsaken or if it can, I don't know. But the show is going with a type of lore where like that, you know, thing where they are dark friends already, they already have devoted time to the shadow, that kind of thing is true, but it seems like they need a Forsaken to like fully push them over the edge. I don't know how to feel about that change. It seems benign, but who knows. So, the metal thing that I spared absolutely no thought towards when Perrin got sliced in the hand with the axe was Perrin's stupid wedding ring. And for the 3rd season now, I implore you, stop trying to make Layla happen. She was a character you fridged. Stop trying to pretend you didn't just fridge her. Like, my God. I do like the mention of Tull towards Loyal because he saved the maiden's life. I forget if it was which one, if it was Bane or Chiad, but I do appreciate the mention of Tull. Like, I love the Aiel ways so much, and Tull is one of the coolest things about them. This, like, code of honor that they live by. So, Lan and Nynaeve's romance, I'm here for. Like, my only criticism earlier was the fact that she is discussing her trials, which she should not be. However, their romance, just in general, I'm here for. I appreciate it. It actually feels organic. It feels like I should care about it, unlike, you know, Alana and her warders. But, okay. I do appreciate the Nynaeve as a wisdom coming through, like, for Matt at the end there, you know? Like, that was cute. Yeah, so the phallic joke that was made about the White Tower actually was pretty chuckle-worthy. I think it fit really well where it went. I think it was done in a way that felt very Matt and felt appropriate for the moment. It had good comedic timing. Like, unlike some of like the sexy, spicy jokes that they've tried to add earlier this episode, that one actually landed for me. Okay, literally look, they don't do a lot that I like, okay? But when they do something that I like, I gotta say it. And having the goodbye music turn more epic, and having Yosha as Rand saying, like, you know, I'm gonna go where nobody's gonna look for me, where I can amass, like, my army, like, the Aiel waste. When I tell you, I literally squealed and was like, yes, the waste! And I literally even wrote it here. Where is it? Literally, right here, I wrote, bigger than usual. Hey, the waist. I love the time spent in the waist. Oh my God, I love it. Just give it to me. I'm so excited. I'm actually excited. I'm excited to see that, even though I know I'm gonna groan up a storm. I know it's gonna piss me off. I know. We already talked about that in the video where I talked about the new castings, how they already switched up, like, Wise One's lore for no good reason. But I'm still excited for it. Maybe that's why I mainly honored the Aiel, but also the Brown Aja, but definitely the Aiel with this, like, light brown that I went for here. I am excited about that. So, I also just love Radion. Again, I hate that Matt won't be there. I hate that whole plot point is just dead. But, I'm looking forward to what they do with it. It's essentially the Arches for Rand, you know? Okay, so Okay, so they're kind of sticking to Robert Jordan's gray man lore, I said, but not entirely, because this has to be a thing that they do, like, the way that it's portrayed to me in the books, at least, is that, and I did, like, look this up in the Wheel of Time, like, fandom wiki, which is actually a pretty awesome resource, not gonna lie. It seems like the soul is given, and obviously there was a lot of undue influence with Moghedien there. So I don't know. I'm kind of, who knows if this is gonna mess anything up, honestly, but there are benign choices that they made that just kind of just waste our time now. So maybe this will be one of them, maybe not. Why is Moghedien like so like sensual for absolutely no reason? I don't really get that. I feel like Grindal was more like that, but I don't know if we're even gonna get Grindal, so who knows. Okay, so I did a couple of commentary on the preview because I couldn't help but watch it because I played right after, right? And it looks like we're getting the Battle of the Two Rivers in this season, which is cool. And then, I'm just gonna reiterate it. Why is Rand carrying Moiraine in the waist? Like, my man initially was like, oh, is that Avienda? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I have the sneaky suspicion that it's not. It's just Moiraine getting inserted. Again. Okay. Well, these are my notes. We basically went through the entire episode via my notes. So now, let's just get into some final thoughts, shall we? So, I will say that at least once we got towards the last half of the episode, they did manage to hold my attention, and especially because I do love the waist, so that got me excited actually to see what they came up with for that. And the Aiel, honestly, and the hunt for the Black Aja both are two of my favorite things of the whole series. So the previews made me excited for those two things, but honestly the episode was just kind of meh overall because it is bogged down by the things that I talked about here. I really hate that Matt won't be in Rudion. Like, I contemplated if I should use the word hate, and I really do. Like, I hate it because I love that storyline so much. Like, literally, the whole story about how he gets his car, how his car ends up being a big thing, how he has to come back with the eye, it's the whole thing. It's gone, and it's basically gone at this point, which makes me really upset. Yeah, and then them tying his old tongue thing to the horn and essentially just replacing the dagger with the horn. Like, it just feels very sloppy to me when they had a brilliant, very tight progression for him laid out for them by the author of the story they're claiming to want to adapt. I hate that they handled Egwene telling the tower that she's going with Rand so badly by essentially just contradicting themselves, like, from scene to scene, right? With Egwene's intention in one scene to be in agreement with Nynaeve, saying that they do need to go to the tower. Like, Nynaeve basically convinces her because they aren't strong enough. And sure, Egwene got Domani training and, you know, she was able to do, like, explosions and big things, but, like, there are intricacies. There's a rounding out of her abilities that she basically admitted to needing. And then, as soon as she's done with her accepted trial, she just pieces out like that was all a lie. Like, that's just not, again, that's not the Egwene I know. And, like, I understand you need her to go to the waste. You need her to, you know, learn to be a dream walker. You need her to meet the wise ones. You need all these things. I understand that. But it just felt like a first ideas concept to have her just be like, well, I got what I wanted. Peace out. And it doesn't even land because that ring, I mean, listen, maybe in this world where apparently the lore doesn't fucking matter and there are no consequences to things like getting stabbed with a cursed blade, like the ultimate cursed blade, whatever. Maybe people won't question if she's a full Aes Sedai or not. But you would think that in a world where these hideous rings are the marker for Aes Sedai, and every single time you see a fully fledged Aes Sedai, there is a stone in her ring, you would think that Egwene wouldn't feel so confident just like piecing out with complete disrespect to the tower, knowing that other people will know she's only accepted because they went with this goofy ass ring design. Like, I hate to repeat myself, but genuinely, like, these mistakes are avoidable and dumb. First idea mistakes. This whole thing felt like a first idea concept. Literally cut the scene of her agreeing with Nynaeve. Have her just storm out. And then come back. But then again, none of it works. Because Egwene is a woman of her word. It only works if we irrevocably change the foundation of this character, which it feels now we're doing. Moiraine isn't Robert Jordan's Moiraine, therefore she is not my Moiraine. She is a carbon copy knockoff. That's what I'm going to say. Mopi Lan is not Robert Jordan's Lan, therefore he is not my Lan either. Also the Lan who asks his accepted, not wife yet, but his accepted to the tower girlfriend how about a thing that he knows as a warder that they are not allowed to discuss. Like, yeah, no. This is not the Lan that I learned to grow and love. I grew to learn about and love. There we go. I don't love wasting time with prolonged intimacy scenes. It feels like they're just Game of Thrones wannabeing again. Where they switch the lore often creates future issues or outright removes brilliant storylines, such as Mat in The Waste. Or they feel unnecessary. Kian, the gray man, ultimately being created by Forsaken to add fear around the Forsaken, I imagine. Moghedien specifically here, because we actually see her do the thing, right? When there's literally plenty of lore to pull from that will establish just that without you having to alter something just to alter it so that you can have that scene where Moghedien is all scary and is creating a gray man. Like, literally, there's so much you can pull from that doesn't require you just changing lore for absolutely no reason. And clearly, you guys don't seem to plan this stuff out very well, because you end up changing stuff that, like, bites you in the butt later, in my opinion. Lastly, my last note is, I'm going to reiterate it because it is important. Making Mat and Perrin and Rand look like complete idiots in that one scene in the tavern where Mat is just spewing out about the Dragon Reborn and how he blew the horn and how everybody's special in there. Like, he might as well just been like, yo, we're all Taviran. Like, I hate that. Because guess what? One of the criticisms that I can genuinely stand behind that I've seen is that they really do, like, play up the women like they're such these amazing girl bosses, almost unbelievable girl bosses at time. I mean, literally cue in every time Nynaeve has just, like, emergency channeled the right thing, and it's like, it's not even a Deus Ex Machina because it's happened way too often now, right? And for whatever reason, they are okay with, like, dumbing down the guys. It's just, it's clearly very imbalanced. I don't vibe with it. Like I said, there are certain things that I think they followed, you know, or if they didn't necessarily follow to a T, they, like, stayed close to. But for the most part, like, again, I said this back in season 1, I said it again in season 2, and it remains true now. When you change foundational things at the beginning of your adaptation without fully planning out how those foundational changes are going to affect you later on, you end up with something that could have been really great, but isn't. And with the recklessness at which they seem to go about either deciding to toss or change or keep certain bits of lore and whatnot, I just don't have a whole lot of faith. Doesn't mean I'm not excited to see The Waste. Doesn't mean I clearly didn't have, you know, a lot to say and talk about. I mean, the fact that this is getting talked about, I guess maybe that's what they want, right? But ultimately, I am a stan of the books, okay? The books are fantastic, And while I can honor things being changed that make sense, when things are changed that don't make sense, which seems to be a lot of what they decide to change half the time, and now they're having to change more, right, in response to the changes that felt needless that they made in season 1, or they're just allowing gaping plot holes to stand, that is the bed they've made. They have to lay in it. I will be back with you for season 3, episode 2 as soon as I can, probably next week. Yeah, I'll probably be getting these episodes a little bit after the show ends, just because I do want to give each episode its due. But yeah, thank you so much for being here, especially if you've made it this far. Please consider liking the video, please consider subscribing to the channel, and please consider clicking the bell, because I do post regularly, but I don't post on a schedule, and I am trying to hurry my butt here with the Wheel of Time, but the bell is really helpful if you want to know exactly when I post. In addition to any thoughts that you might have, comment the spear emoji. Let's just honor the maidens. We're on the Aiel vibe, so let's honor the maidens. And yeah, please give me your thoughts. Let me know if there's anything that I said that you felt like you agreed with, maybe some things that you disagreed with. Just be cordial, be respectful. You know, we're all humans here just trying to have a discussion about media that we appreciate or not so much as far as the show is concerned for me personally. If you'd like to follow me on social media, I'm at Embodying Mystical Mac. I also have a fun music covers account called @MacAndTheMusic, and just thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. I'm happy to be back doing the Wheel of Time videos. They are going to be work. The pressure's on, but I've had a really good time here just going through my notes. Ultimately, you know, the fact that their art has me coming back in order to critique it, like, sure, what I feel is my duty to y'all at this point. I'm, you know, not unaware of the fact that Wheel of Time made my channel pop off, and I'm very excited about that. I would do these videos, you know, on the principle alone of like continuing the vibe, especially because I do really love these books. But I am genuinely, you know, interested to kind of like see if they can write themselves out of places that they've written themselves into, or if they can do something decent that isn't just, you know, a polished pile of poop, kind of like last season was. So thank you for your support. I really appreciate it, and I will see you very soon, because at this point I feel like I'm just gonna start yapping for no reason because it's really late and I gotta go to bed. I'm sorry, I feel like I was fidgeting so much in this video. I'm trying to figure out like how I can sit on my bed for a long enough period of time, because I kind of enjoy this backdrop, but it's a work in progress. Eventually I will find the right cushion. Okay, see you soon. May you always find water and shade. Bye.